Get the SiriusXM app and listen on your phone when you get out of the car. Anywhere you take your phone, you can take Howard Stern, NFL Radio, and commercial-free music channels from nearly every genre. Channels vary by subscription plan. You never have to miss your favorite SiriusXM programs or commercial-free music. Find the SiriusXM app in the App Store or call 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/app to find out more.
How things are. This is Steve Earle.
My name's Elizabeth Cook.
This is Shooter Jennings.
My name's Johnny Knoxville. I'm here with my cousin Roger Allen Wade.
This is Mojo Nixon. Hardcore country, classic rock and roll, and a crazy cast of characters. I've always been crazy. To hear outlaw country, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or head to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
Deserve the best. With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritize customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
When you're a SiriusXM subscriber, you've got access to commercial-free music, channels from almost every genre, and channels created in conjunction with the biggest names in music. Eminem's Shade 45, Pearl Jam Radio, Bruce Springsteen's E Street Radio, and more. Visit www.SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly or call 844-711-8800 now. Activate your radio and start listening now.
If you like pina coladas and getting warm vacation vibes through your speakers, escape to Radio Margaritaville.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Rediscover decades of Jimmy Buffett's music, concert encores, and plenty of island rock, reggae, and country songs. To listen to Radio Margaritaville, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/go.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018148868.
It's a Thanksgiving tradition. The NFL on SiriusXM. 3 big games, 3 classic rivalries. Packers-Lions.
Oh, baby, what a run! Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Commanders-Cowboys.
Touchdown, left side of the end zone. Touchdown!
And Seahawks-Niners.
McCaffrey walks in the end zone. Touchdown!
To hear NFL radio, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go.
Grande Deportes, bonjour, vidi vidi vici, let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Jonathan of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my, won't you be my, won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! You know, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I signed up for this neighborhood watch program, and In fact, I was elected into it, but some people don't appreciate it when it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're trying to get people tuned in. But that's okay. All fair level words. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them to sit you where the good Lord sits you. Driving the fleet of Cadillac cars. I want to tell you what a beautiful November the 20th. I've got so many things I want to bring on. I've got a special guest coming on today. But I always love doing what I do with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports, as I tell you, all over the universe on 29 podcast applications. And when I do make 29, there's actually 2 more, but I don't go there just yet because sometimes people just don't act right. You can follow Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, TuneIn Podcast, Good Pods Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Cashbox Podcast, a Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Prodigy, Podcast Republic, and one that used to scare me, but now it doesn't. It's allfeeds.ai. Give that some praise because the robots are trying to take over. I keep hearing about artificial intelligence trying to take over. Well, what I want to make sure is I always honor our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know anybody going through issues, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. I know I need somebody to lean on. It's all fair and level work. I want to also say, I want to thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. I like to shine a lot of light. A lot of light on things. I also want to tell you with Big C Sports Podcast, I've been doing it for many, many moons now. I always produce, I direct the topics, I broadcast all the shows, I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. The commercials are done, and then the stats are provided. I even do the play-by-play and the storytelling. Number 9, I upload every show to a platform out of New York City, to 29 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms. But never 10, I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports with the crew back in the day. Give that some praise. Give us some praise, because I never missed a show, and I don't plan on missing shows. Oh, fair level work. You know, I got so much to do on today's show. Got the NFL roundup, got some college football roundup, but I also have a special guest by the name of Rasheed Salaam, just a smart man, been a good friend of mine for over a decade now, and he's an expert when it comes to what you put in your body and how oftentimes athletes will do things to their bodies that the average person can't do. It's called symptometry. It's the most scientific and natural method of curing and preventing disease, and how athletes can optimize their performance at their peak levels, if that makes sense to you. I'm going to have Mr. Rasheed Salaam come on after I take what's called the Big C pause. And when I come back, I'm going to have on Mr. Rasheed Salaam. We'll talk about all the great things that people do to stay healthy in this beautiful world. In the order of the what I like to give honor to is the California Governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, former governor. He said, I'll be back, and I will be back. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast platforms all over the universe. And streaming live on 4 TV platforms. Really do appreciate the growth of Big C Sports. I have a special guest in the name of Rasheed Salaam. The brother knows everything about how to be healthier. A lot of athletes, they make a living on knowing how do they keep their bodies healthy. And Rasheed Salaam is one of the best when it comes to diagnosing things that happen in the human body, whether you're an athlete or whether you're sitting on the sofa for too many days, if that makes sense to you. But he's also in the city of St. Louis, Missouri, and I hear what they call St. Louis, the show me state. Big C.
The show me state. That's right. The show me state.
Rasheed Salaam, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful, Charles, and thank you for asking.
Yes, you know, you and I have talked many years in person and over the phone about things that actually make life easier and better, not only just for the human experience, but for people in business, psychology. You talk about cell health. It's just as important as our mental health. What we put in our bodies, it actually will manifest itself in what our bodies look like. Does that make sense? Your thoughts?
Makes all the sense in the world, my good brother. You know, what goes in must come out. If bad goes in, guess what's coming out?
Then bad's coming out. So you also, I want to edify you too, because I know you host a show that goes on your platform. Go ahead and introduce your show, what you talk about, and how people can actually find you, if that makes sense to you.
Okay, no problem. You know, I host a show called The of Health and Youth, and that show is designed to provide individuals with optimal health education and information.
Rasheed, let me just pause you just 1 second. I know I'm having some technical difficulty, but I want to make sure that if your phone's on speaker, take it off speaker, because it'll buy its own feedback.
Gotcha.
But if I want to make sure, I just want to edify you, and then we'll do that one more time. What your show is, when people can hear it, and what they will learn from you. Go right ahead.
Okay. The show is called The Science of Health and Youth. And that show is designed to provide educational information to help people reach the optimal health level within their own bodies. The name of the game is making sure that you understand that all bodies require maintenance. Yeah. Unfortunately, most of us don't know what that maintenance is, and so we depend on other people, doctors and nutritionists, to try to tell us something about our own bodies that we're already born with. Yes. And so we try to pull out of you that information, that education about how your body functions.
Yes. Now, I may miss the word, but is it symptometry, the most scientific method? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir. That's what it's called, symptometry. That's a school called American School of Symptometry in Chicago, Illinois. Yeah. And its focus is on the 200 cell types that our bodies are made of, but also the 75 to 100 trillion cells that make up our human anatomy, period. Unfortunately, when they talk about the term know thyself, all they got to do is take the F off, know thyself. Without knowing your cells, you find yourself in a bad situation because you have all kinds of issues that take place. Yes. And so we deal with the root-based therapeutics of how your body functions and how your body works.
You know, that makes a lot of sense. Rasheed, again, talking to Rasheed Salaam, just very knowledgeable when it comes to how the body works. And when you look at the African-American community, oftentimes we're told that we are diagnosed with high blood pressure or hypertension. And I know, obviously, I've been on that myself. I decided that I'd actually just take the medication because for so many years, over a decade, I tried to do all the remedies that I heard were natural, but nothing ever worked, Rasheed, until I went to the pharmacy way. Tell me about that and how can we maybe work to get off of that, if that makes sense to you?
Yes, it does make sense, Charles. And, you know, the issue that we have is that we depend on false information, false education, and false pharmaceuticals. Yes. Pharmaceuticals do not cure diseases. Pharmaceuticals do not give you what you need for your body to function right. Quite frankly, they harm your body more than they help your body. So we find ourselves on long-term medication periods, and we shouldn't be on those types of things. We should be on all natural concepts, all natural information that we need to find out for ourselves. So that requires education. Yeah. So symptometry, that school is not designed to give you any type of cures. Yes. It's designed to give you education, so you know that the cure is in the proof. The proof of the cure is in the fact that it solves the problems that you have. Yeah. So it's education. That's basically what we consist of. All education.
You know, and again, talking to Rasheed Salaam, and anyone can fact check everything and do your own research. That's what Mr. Salaam is very, very pro for saying. But for many people, such as myself, or many athletes, we know oftentimes if someone has a cramp while they're playing an NFL football or NBA basketball game, they will often say they're going to get an injection, and oftentimes it's an electrolyte solution or something that goes into replenish the metabolism. Does that make sense, and is it a good or bad thing in your thoughts?
Well, what happens, you know, if you're playing sports, you're going to sweat. Yes. When you sweat, the salts, that's why sweat is salty. The salts that come out of your body, if you don't replenish them properly, what you have, you have deficiencies and you have defect in your body function. So over time, the lack of those salt minerals being put back in your body is going to cause cramps. It's going to cause pain. It's going to cause all different types of situations. Like you find a lot of people pull muscles. That's a lack of calcium and lack of magnesium.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that people just don't know about.
And again, talking to Rasheed Salaam, just an expert on how the body works, how the cell health is just as important as your financial health. And again, athletes, they're all focused with the best, I would say, medical help. They have their team doctor. They have insurance that can go anywhere and get accepted. But let's go back to, let's say, your average 9-to-5 person, African American, or any person for that. But we talk about our community, people have a stroke or heart attack. They can do that without having hypertension. So therefore, it's not just that someone has a high blood pressure or they're eating salty foods or fatty foods. What is it that's leading to the hypertension that's more than just food related, if that makes sense to you?
Well, it does make sense, Charlton. What happens, all diseases are merely just symptoms.
Yes.
If you have arthritis, if you have a pain, that's a symptom, your body telling you that you need to do something.
Yes.
Unfortunately, nobody knows how to ionize, oxidize, or use hydrolysis to cure their body from all the excess dirt. When I say dirt, I mean exactly that, the gravel, the stuff that we find in our foods.
Yes.
If we only recognize this one particular thing, the food that we're eating today is coming from soil that has no nutritional value.
Wow.
So what are you really eating?
Yeah.
And so we eat food for one reason, to get the nutrition. So if there's no nutrition in the food, you have what we call calcification that takes place.
Yeah.
When the food breaks down in your stomach, it's not digested properly. Therefore, it accumulates and builds into your veins, your tissues, your arteries, your capillaries in your veins, blocking the flow of blood, blocking the flow of the nutrients that's necessary to get to your cells.
Yes.
Because that's what we need. All water must get to your cells, and all nutrients must get to your cells. But if it's blocked with trashy food that you can't digest, then you have this problem that we have about calcification. You have to hydrolyze. You have to ionize that type of thing. And you have to have particles and molecules, dried molecules, that clean your system out. It's all about blood cleansing, Charlton.
Yes.
All about blood cleansing.
Again, this is Big C Sports, Charlton Curry, talking to Rasheed Salaam, an expert on nutrition and how the body actually works. If you recall, back in the day, Rasheed, you would hear the Olympics. Now, not to say any specific country, but allegedly they would say that some of the Russian athletes, a Soviet Union bloc, back in the day, were always blood doping, and sometimes they would be actually, in fact, show that they've been actually eliminated from some competitions because of the allegations of blood doping. Is that something that you could expound on, Rasheed?
Well, Charlton, here's the thing about it. If you could increase your blood flow, it increases your energy flow.
Yes.
If you increase your energy flow, it increases your performance.
Yes.
So what happens, some people take false types of diuretics or foods or what we call pharmaceuticals that increase their ability and increase their opportunity to function.
Yes.
And that functionality is called bloodletting. But the beautiful part about it shouldn't interfere with anybody if you already had your blood clean.
Yes.
Your energy levels will be going through the roof. If your blood is flowing at 186,000 miles per second, it doesn't matter what the other person does. You're going to outdo them. So these performance-enhancing drugs that they take really do work in some instances because most people bodies are not completely thoroughly clean.
And we know that some people have been allegedly denied access to Hall of Fame, even though they've hit the ball further and as many times over the fence as anybody ever in the game. But the allegation of this person's doing kind of like what you mentioned, getting more oxygen into the blood, whether it's chemical or whether it's through a syringe, oftentimes, or a cream, there are ways that people with the right access to money can find ways to get that advantage. Does that make sense to you, Rasheed?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, Charlton. You have to look at what people do. Anything that's forbidden, that's natural, is usually banned. It's usually a banned substance. In some foods we have certain types of chemicals or certain types of components in it, like protein, that's natural in the food. But see, if it's not on that list, then you did something to enhance yourself. So it's a control situation.
Yes.
And I don't never try to talk about anyone, especially doctors, because they control this whole thing.
Yes.
They make the determination what's good or bad. But what they don't want you to do is be natural, using things that they have not given you permission to use in order to keep everything under control.
You know, there's something called Eastern and Western medicine, and I love what you're saying, because we, as a group of people, especially African Americans, now you can tell me if I'm wrong, maybe it's my own perception, but it seems to me, evolution aside, if you go back 20 years, even 30 years, do people seem like they're bigger now? High school kids, high school football teams look like they're professional football teams of the 1970s. Go right ahead, please.
Absolutely. Now, when you think about what they put in the soil today, what they put in the food today, what they inject into the food, if you inject into the food, it's going to go into your body.
Yes.
So what you're experiencing right now is a high level of inflammation, a high level of obesity, but it does not come from the person's ability to function. It comes from the food that they're eating and the preservatives that's in the food that they're eating.
Yes.
And so therefore, this weight thing called inflammation is an epidemic in this country about inflammation. And if it's out of control, you're going to be in bad shape. And what we're looking at today, most people are just too big. Obesity is an epidemic in this country. But what is obesity? It's not that you're getting fat. It's that you're being inflamed from the inside because the fat tissues are protecting your organs from the too much acid in your body, which allows it to eat your organs, so the fat tissues protect you.
Wow.
So it's bad food intake.
That is very knowledgeable. Talking to, again, Rasheed Salaam as an expert in food. And he says everything you hear him say, Google it for yourself. You could talk to your doctor. You could get the information for yourself. But you got to get it. And I know, Rasheed, you're in St. Louis, Missouri, the Show Me State. I'm out here in California. You've been in both. And I know nowadays, when it comes to professional athletes, a football player could be an offensive lineman for the Pittsburgh Steelers back in the 70s and weigh 250 pounds as an offensive lineman. Now you have guys that it's hard to even make the cut unless you're 330 pounds. That has to have a negative effect on the body, or does it not, Rasheed? Your thoughts?
Absolutely has a negative effect on the body, because what you have is fat. You have steroid-induced food in your body, which creates the extra weight that makes you the bigger person that you should be, instead of being that mobile person, that high defined quality body that you can have that will still do the same thing that a 300-pound person would do. You know, it's a shame, Charles, that what we're consuming in our chicken, what we're consuming in our steaks, what we're consuming in the meat that we eat is basically indoctrinated with nothing but protein and nothing but steroids. Steroids inflame. It makes you bigger.
I know that push of working and talking to farmers, there's always that thought of how do we get this cow to produce faster? How do we get this chicken to produce faster? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Nobody really knows.
Sir.
All I know is they taste pretty good with the right seasoning, Rasheed. So we could talk about what's wrong with people. And again, this is real conversation. When I was diagnosed with high blood pressure, I had about 10% body fat. I was probably in the best shape of my life. I looked amazing. It felt amazing. When I started taking the pills, it did lower my blood pressure. It took away the headaches. At the same time, it bloated me because the water pills, the water has to go somewhere. Now, Now we know that, and that is throughout the African American community and many other communities. What is a solution to help us get more natural? And not say just cold turkey stop medication, but we got to try to wean ourselves over time, is the advice of my doctor and other people who are living into their 80s. Your thoughts?
Yes, sir. Well, the biggest problem that we have in today's time is the food intake. With the genetically modified foods, with all the different types of steroid production that they're putting in our animals to make them bigger, faster. They can grow to the point where whatever's in that cow, whatever's in that chicken, whatever's in that food is going to be in you. It will graft itself onto your body. And what happens, you can't get rid of it because you're too acidity. If you're too acidity, then your body's going to protect itself. And the way it protects itself is to implode.
So that's why.
The fat tissues are going to cover up all your vital organs and make sure that acid does not eat that organ. So what we need is education. What we need is information. We can sit here and talk and just touch on things.
Yeah.
People are going to have to do their own investigation on body maintenance, on health maintenance, and unfortunately, we have the American School of Cytometry that's been around for over 40 years, have done all the research. They're not trying to sell you nothing.
Right.
They're providing you complete information on almost every particular disease, from high blood pressure to diabetes to cancer,
Yes.
to all those particular things that we experience every day. It gives you solutions.
Yes.
We don't have solutions. We keep running to the doctor, and I'm not, like I said before, I'm not trying to put a doctor down.
Exactly.
But the bottom line is, you can heal your own self.
Yes. And again, talking to Rasheed Salaam, an expert at nutrition and how it helps the body at the cellular level. And I want to ask you this, Rasheed, because you know NBA basketball started up just a couple of weeks ago. We're right now on the back nine of the NFL football schedule. All around the country, college football programs are trying to position themselves to play for the college football national championship. But I want to take you back to something we touched on earlier. In California and really around the country, they're doing high school football playoffs, where you will see them advertise a high school football player, say offensive lineman, being 6'4", 320 pounds, and he's 18 years old. Rasheed, that cannot be healthy. How do we solve that problem?
Oh, you solve that problem by healthy eating, Jonathan. Food is a poison, number one.
Yes.
Until we learn how to eat healthy, scientific cooking now.
Yeah.
Here's the situation. We don't cook scientifically. We just eat whatever we eat. We have a sugar problem, and we have a salt problem. It's 74 different types of sugars, and they have an effect on your human body. We're going to have, the end result is going to be very negative on most of our high school children. They're going to be pulling muscles. They're going to have heart problems. They're going to have all different types of problems, blood pressure problems, diabetes. All these things come from intake. The wrong food, not cooked scientifically, causes major problems in our body. You have to learn how to cook. You got to stay away from tomatoes. You got to stay away from lettuce. You got to stay away from all those things that have microbes and bacteria on it that cause fungal infection.
Yes. That's interesting. I want you to say again, Rasheed Salaam, an expert in scientific research on what you put into your body at the cellular level. Now, Rasheed, again, anyone can Google what you're saying. But you know, not all lettuce has the same nutrients. Kale might be different than iceberg lettuce, but we'll see on TV, eat more lettuce. Can you talk about the difference in the good versus the bad in your thoughts?
Yes, sir. Let me just say this, Charlton.
Yes.
That conversation requires such heavyweight education and information. My suggestion to you would be this. Have your listening audience go to AMSOS.org.
Yes.
That's AMSOS. Anything you want to know from an educational perspective.
Yes.
They're not giving you advice. They're educating you on how your body works.
Yes.
We're nothing but cells. Everything about us is a cell.
Yes.
So to really get into that conversation, like, we started talking about lettuce. Well, lettuce have certain things on it that you can't even wash off.
Yeah, that's true.
Tomatoes have certain things like solanine in it that you can't even wash off. It's deadly to your health. So I would really, instead of giving people bits and pieces, take them to the source, Charlton.
Yes.
AMSOS.org. Those articles are phenomenal articles. And you can do your own research. You don't have to believe anything that I'm saying.
Right.
I'm only merely sharing with you my educational experience on what I do know, and I've seen the results in people's lives by participating in the American School of Cytometry and Education. So if they want to reach me, they can always reach me at 314-337-1418. And you can get this information. I can provide you with more detailed information. I can provide you with educational material that you can do your research and educate about. We have children, Charlton. My focus right now is my children and my grandchildren.
Yeah.
If they don't start eating the right food scientifically, we're going to have more obesity. We're going to have more high blood pressure, more diabetes, more cancer. Cancer is the lack of oxygen in your cells.
Yes.
That's all cancer is. The lack of oxygen. Now we're going through the wintertime where the air is now thick.
Yes.
So you don't get as much oxygen in your body. Therefore, if your immune system can't keep up with that, you got a real problem.
Yes. That's it. Again, talking to Rasheed Salaam, an expert at the cellular level. Like you said, go to the website, AMSOS.org. That's AMSOS.org. amsos.org. But I want you to also leave your phone number another time. Like, do it 2 more times if you can, Rasheed. How can people reach you? Go right ahead, please.
They can reach me at 314-337-1418. That's 314-337-1418. And I'm on every Tuesday on Blog Talk Radio with the educational tools from the American School of Scientology. That number is 714-816-4673. 714-816-4673. That's 6 o'clock Central Time, 4 o'clock Pacific Time, and 7 o'clock Eastern Time.
That's a great...
You can learn more about the American School of Scientology and the types of education that we provide.
I want to talk to you just a few more minutes, Rasheed, again. It already seems like it's only a 5-minute conversation, but it's been going on over 20 minutes. But I got to tell you, one of the reasons I love talking to you, because it doesn't matter what people say. You always say do your own research.
Right.
Do your own research, because now, as a black American, I've just heard recently on the news that hair care products that have been prevalently sold to the black community, especially for straightening of the hair, that some of those products have been known to be carcinogenic. And that wasn't known when they were selling that stuff massively produced the last 30, 40 years. Your thoughts?
Lipstick, fingernail polish, all those tattoos, all those dyes. We have 3 levels of skin. If you, whatever it gets, it goes to all 3 levels of your skin.
Yes.
Those hair products, I'm not, like, once again, we can't talk about people, we can't put anybody down, but you must know what's in that hair care product.
Yes.
You must know the acetone that's in fingernail polish.
Yes.
You gotta know the passages that's in makeup to go on your skin.
Yes.
All those things have carcinogenic material in them, and we have to know that.
I want to, yes. Go right ahead, please.
We got to take the time out to, instead of just buying stuff because somebody else has told you to buy it, study what's in it. The problem is the content.
Yes.
What's in it? What preservative is in it? Why are these chemicals in the product? You got to know what those chemicals do to you, and they are carcinogenic in most cases.
And now the FDA is coming out saying that after millions of people were shown on television and on advertisement to trust what you see on TV, trust what you hear on the radio or podcast. And that's why it's so important that Rasheed Salaam says, Google this stuff for yourself. It's not about having an argument. It's about educating yourself. amsos.org. That's amsos.org. I want to get your thoughts coming up. Thanksgiving's coming up, Rasheed. Now, I've been told by my great-granddaddy when I was born, if a man don't snore, don't trust him. And if a woman doesn't snore, don't trust her. But, now, I don't know if he was right or not. Sometimes great-granddaddy had their own thoughts. But what is it about coming up now on Thanksgiving? We're going to ingest more salt. We're going to ingest more sugar and more flowers and things that are not necessarily grown out of the ground. How can we cut back and eat a healthier Thanksgiving, or is that an oxymoron?
Well, in most cases, it's an oxymoron, because you're not going to tell anybody they can't have that turkey, they can't have that sweet potato pie, that they can't have those greens. I'm telling you. Now, what you can do is make sure that food is cooked properly.
Yes.
That's the only thing I can suggest to you. And those sweets,
they
between Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Don't start a fight, Rasheed. Don't start a fight now, okay? Go ahead.
The average American person in this country eats 150 pounds of sugar every year.
Wow.
And most of that sugar is during the holiday period. Okay?
Wow.
But that sugar has a direct reflection on your memory loss.
Yes.
Dementia, Alzheimer's, obesity, heart disease, dialysis problem that people are having with that. All that stuff is correctable.
Yeah.
But guess what? It all affects your heart, Charlton.
Yeah.
High blood pressure and low blood pressure is a heart problem. It's not no other problem.
Yeah.
Low blood pressure, that means your heart is not pumping enough blood.
Yeah.
High blood pressure, your heart is pumping too much blood.
Yeah.
How do you balance that out? You need to know how to balance it out. And that's the problem that we have. Lack of education, lack of information is our biggest problem. So the proof is in the cure.
That is,
you know?
Yeah, you're right. Just on that website you were talking about, many doctors say, and we'll go about another 5 minutes if we can with you, Rasheed, that blood pressure should not be too low or too high. For example, 109/65 is considered too low. On the other hand, 170/98 is considered too high. When I recently had my blood pressure checked, I think it was like 122/78 and then 127/80. It all depends on what time of day, what you've eaten going up to the measurement. But it's been controlled under medication. And I like your thoughts again. If you could share it one more time, myself and other people who are dealing with hypertension, what can we do? And Google it to come down and bring those numbers down more naturally. Your thoughts, please.
It all has to do, Charles, is with consumption of the types of food that you eat.
Yes.
You know, staying away from those foods that have all those things in it that affect your body part.
Yeah.
So everybody's going to be different because we got different weights. We got women and men. We got all different types of blood types. So the key would be is to make sure you understand scientific cooking.
Yes.
What do you have to do to cook your food scientifically? Don't eat no salads. Stay away from salads and tomatoes.
Yes.
I know it's hard to say. Everybody think eating salads are healthy. They're not. Stay away from milk. Stay away from eggs.
Yes.
Stay away from onions.
Yes.
Stay away from tomatoes.
Yeah.
Those things affect your body function. So when you know what to consume, you don't have to worry about what's going to take place in your body because it's going to be more healthier because you're eating and cooking scientifically.
Yes.
Eating the right oil. Stay away from peanuts. Stay away from all the sugary sweets.
Yes.
Those are the things that have fungus in it. And there's nothing worse than having fungus in your body. So we're dealing with fungus infection, which cause respiratory problems.
Yes.
Fungus infections that cause blood clots. Fungus infections that cause all different types of things that happen to your body that you just need to study for yourself so you can know what you eat will cause you to die or cause you to live.
That's very well said. Talking to the great Rasheed Salaam. As we close out, Rasheed, the thing coming up for most people is the holidays. People are going to celebrate Thanksgiving. But if you could have a closing note for some of our athletes, obviously an offensive lineman to be 6'6" and 340 pounds, and it may look good to make a few $1 million while you're in your 20s. But what's going to happen to those guys when they're not bench pressing and running up and down the field 3 and 4 times a week? What happens when they turn 30, 40, 50 years old? Your thoughts?
Body deficiencies, body dysfunction, the inability to continue to do the things that you used to do without complete exercise, the consumption of food that you take in, you're going to have to change your diet. You're going to have to do a lot of different things. So the best thing to do as an athlete is change your diet right now.
Yes.
Change your diet. Get you someone who knows what they're talking about. And the best person to get is a coach from the American School of Symptometry.
Yes.
You will be much healthier. Your years on the football, basketball field will be much longer, and you'll be healthier. The key is that all that extra weight turns into fat.
Yes.
It turns into fat, you have a real serious problem.
Well, nowadays, some medical doctors will say, let's just cut it off. Like, go into this, lay down and let us cut part of your body off.
God.
Nip tuck society, we know it's prominent, especially in many beauty industries. So as we close, talking to the great Rasheed Salaam, a food expert, dietary expert at the cellular level, and he espouses Google amsos.org. That's amsos.org. Rasheed, in the final thoughts today, what message do you want to give on what you're teaching, what you're preaching? How can people find more about you? Go right ahead, sir.
What you want to find out, you want to call me at 314-337-1418. And also tune in every Tuesday to the Science of Your Health in You, 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern, and 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. But the most important thing I want to leave you with, clean your blood consistently, constantly. Clean your blood and learn how to hydrolyze and ionize your bloodstream, because that's the biggest problem. Whatever's in your blood is in every tissue in your body. If you have dirty blood, it's going to be dirty tissues in your body, so you're going to have a malfunction at some point in time.
Let me ask, this is too good to stop. We're going to go 2-minute warning. How do you clean your blood? When I want to clean my oil in my car, I get an oil change. How does a person, with that knowledge that you just gave in the last 60 seconds, what can they do to clean their blood? Well,
naturally, before you have to buy anything, you can do a broccoli cleanse. You can do a ginger root cleanse.
Yes.
You can do what we call a grapefruit cleanse.
Yes.
Before you buy anything or try to get anything, get your body prepared for the cleansing.
Yes.
The broccoli cleanse has five attributes in it. They clean out your arteries, your veins, your muscles, and your capillaries.
Yes.
And once those things are cleaned out, you naturally clean them. Now, what you have to do now is begin to eat food scientifically so it don't get clogged up again.
Yes.
But that's where you start. Then when you get to that point, you can call the American School of Cytometry and ask them for dried molecules and particulars. They've been around since the 1940s.
Yes.
They're legal. What they do, they explode the trash out of your veins, out of your bloodstream.
Really?
Clean you out so your cells can begin to function properly.
Say that one. That's so good. Instead of having a second slice of a sweet potato pie, give us a second slice of what you just said again. As hard as it may be to put down the sweet potato pie, please say that one more time, what you just said about cleaning your blood.
Blood cleansing. Start with the broccoli cleanse.
Yes.
Then there's a special recipe that you got to call me or get on the line so you get that special recipe.
Yes.
Don't just eat broccoli and think you've done it.
Right.
There's a special way of preparing broccoli.
Yes.
There's a special way of preparing what they call ginger root-based therapy.
Yes.
That tea, that takes I don't even drink coffee or tea anymore. I use ginger root therapeutic tea.
Okay.
And then there's a cleanse that you do with grapefruit, and all three of those cleanses, since you're going to have one of them holidays, be prepared to get the knowledge to clean yourself out because you need to clean your blood.
Yes.
Blood cleansing, Charles.
Well, I really do appreciate the great Rasheed Salaam on blood cleansing, and you can believe I'm going to take some of that blood cleansing and put it on some of my turkey for the holidays. You just gave me my new, what's it called, a new kind of recipe to put onto it. Does that make sense to you?
Hey, just call me for the recipe, Charles. Get the recipe. And the recipe, I'm telling you, is phenomenal. Matter of fact, the broccoli cleanse now has been noted to get rid of COVID-19 out your body.
Really, that is very amazing information. Again, the great Rasheed Salaam. Go to amsos.org. That's amsos.org. I'm going to take the call to the Big C pause. I want to thank Mr. Rasheed Salaam for coming on the show. You know I'll be calling you after the show's over too, Rasheed, right?
No problem, my good man. No problem.
Well, have a super fantastic day. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
And thank you so much for having me, buddy.
Thank you. Right. Have a blessed day. The great Rasheed Salaam talking about food at the cellular level, how we can all improve our health. I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When I come back, we're going to talk about some football and what's going on in the world of sports. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe. Just 4 TV platforms. I really do appreciate that. Again, the great Rasheed Salaam, just talking about things on the cellular level of what we need to be healthier. And it's not just his opinion. It's go to amsos.org. That's amsos.org and find out more about what does the body good, if that makes sense to you. I want to touch into the world of NFL football. I know we had a busy weekend. It's short week coming up for Thanksgiving Day football, but I just want to touch on the game tonight. The Kansas City Chiefs, they are at home. They're taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in a rematch of last year's Super Bowl 57. And will these two teams make it back to Super Bowl 58? Maybe one will, but the game's already underway, 8:15 p.m., kickoff East Coast time. It's streaming on ESPN and also Fubo. The Chiefs are a 2.5-point favorite, and the over-under is 48. To me, the Chiefs are playing better football than they're just playing better football. They're at Kansas City also, but Kansas City also lost their game at home, the first game this year on Thursday Night Football. It was to the Detroit Lions. So just being at home doesn't mean that Kansas City is going to win this game. If you look at what's going on, it's a rematch of the last Super Bowl that we had. Jalen Hurts, he hasn't looked healthy this season. The Chiefs defense is playing good football right now, and that might be the difference as they will try to slow down the Eagles. Touchdown, Patrick. There's no place like Mahomes. As great as he's been, sometimes he makes that play that you go, oh my God, how did he do that? And other times he makes the play that makes you say, oh my God, why did he do that? and we'll see if that happens tonight with the Kansas City Chiefs and also the Philadelphia Eagles. Both teams are considered the favorite to get back to the Super Bowl. Based on how things are now, I still like the way the 49ers are playing. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. A 2.5-point favorite. You're at home in Kansas City. Kansas City rarely covers. I mean, they don't do as well covering the point spread as many people would think they would be. 800 Gambler, if you have a problem not betting on some of these games and wondering why a team was favored by 7 and they are up by 3 or by 4, they just take a knee or whatever, or they could have scored it from the 1-yard line. Oftentimes you'll see that with Kansas City. We will see what happens. It's about football, and teams are now trying to jockey for position to be in the playoffs. Want to just look around the league, what happened over the weekend. A lot of great football teams were out doing their thing. You got to look at the Cleveland Browns with a 13-10 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dustin Hopkins, he kicked a 34-yard field goal with 2 seconds left after the Cleveland rookie quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson out of UCLA. He had completed 4 straight clutch passes, giving the Browns 7-3 on the season now. A 13 win over the rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Another game that went down to the wire, the Denver Broncos 21, Minnesota Vikings 20. The great Russell Wilson's 15-yard touchdown throw to Cortland Sutton with just a minute to play. It propelled Denver past the Minnesota Vikings, and the Broncos ended their Vikings 5-game winning streak. Isn't that something, Dobbs? It's something else for the Denver Broncos. Had a tough time containing him the whole game, but Denver's defense had 3 takeaways, and they forced Dobbs and the Vikings to go backwards. But he was at times looking really good. Other times they had a read on him. I like the team in Deer Hills, California, known as the San Francisco 49ers. A 27-14 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brock Purdy threw a 76-yard strike to Brandon Ayuk for one of his 3 touchdown passes. And San Francisco, they're now 7-3. They beat Tampa Bay, which is now 4-6. And Purdy threw 4 touchdowns. I think he had a 4-yard touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey and a 3-yarder to George Kittle. That helped the 49ers post a second straight lopsided win. They love playing teams from Florida, and that followed a 3-game losing streak where they had lost games that they should have won, but shoulda, coulda, woulda, don't matter in NFL football. But, it's just about how you play. They lost to Cleveland on the road. They lost to Cincinnati on the road. And then they had that loss to Minnesota as well on the road. Last one, I beg your pardon, at Cincinnati was a loss in Deer Hills, California. But they did not have the full contingent of Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, and Trent Williams on the side on the offensive line. So when they're healthy, I think, in my opinion, they are the best team in football. Now, Purdy became the first 49ers quarterback to post a perfect passer rating in a game with at least 20 attempts. So when he has time to throw, you notice that Trent Williams is usually there, that left tackle, if that makes sense to you. The Las Vegas Raiders, they fell to the Dolphins 30-13. Beg your pardon, 2013. It was Jalen Ramsey caught a game-sealing interception that helped stifle Las Vegas' fourth-quarter comeback. Now, the Raiders lost by 7, but they covered the spread. They were 10-point underdogs back in the Sunshine State, if that makes sense to you. Tua Tagovailoa was 28-39, 325 yards and 2 touchdowns and an interception for Miami. We know the Raiders have their own challenges going forward, but they put up a better fight than Las Vegas thought they would. Arizona Cardinals, they fell to the Houston Texans 21-16. Standout rookie quarterback, I'm telling you, C.J. Stroud, he's amazing, out of Ohio State and Rancho Cucamonga High School in California. He threw for 336 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the Houston Texans overcame his season high 3 interceptions. But they beat Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals now fall to 2-9, all fair and level war. Now, Houston rookie Tank Dell had a season high 149 yards receiving, got his chest in the win for 149 yards. That set the rookie franchise record with his 6th touchdown catch, all fair and level war. How about those Cowboys 33, Carolina Panthers 10? It was Ron Bland tied an NFL record with his 4th pick 6 of the season. Touchdown, Dak Prescott threw for 189 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the Cowboys are now 7-3. They trounced Carolina, which falls to 1-9 for their 4th win in 5 games. Dallas is very tough to win at home. Think about this to the Dallas Cowboys. This team is something else. Bland tied a record shared by Philadelphia's Eric Allen in 1993, Kansas City's Jim Kearney in 1972, and Houston's Ken Houston in 1971. They have a really good football team, if that makes sense to you, the Dallas Cowboys. The New York Jets, again, these Jets got grounded. Buffalo beat them 32-6. Josh Allen threw 3 touchdown passes. And the Buffalo's offense, a little bit sluggish lately, responded to change by coordinator scoring 6 points in their first 8 possessions en route to the AFC East rival New York Jets. The Bills, they snapped a 2-game skid and topped 25 points for the first time in 7 weeks. Something's happened to that team in Buffalo. They've gotten a little bit better, but that happens when the Jets come to town. Got the Los Angeles Rams. They still own the Seahawks in Southern California, 17-16. El Mantelli, a 22-yard field goal by Lucas Harvick. And there was a time about 1:30 to play in the game. And then Jason Myers missed a 55-yard attempt for the Seahawks with 3 seconds left. And the Los Angelinos, they get a victory over the Seattle Seahawks. Matthew Stafford passed 190 yards on his returns from injury, led to 2 scoring drives. Geno Smith, they hung on. Tell you, there's something about Geno Smith. He returned from a late injury of his own and led a fantastic last-minute drive in the field goal range before the Myers miss. What a great game down in those 2 great franchises. And now the New York Giants with a 31-19 win over the Washington Commanders. They go to 3-8. They beat the Commanders that fall to 4-7 to snap a 3-game losing streak. The Commanders lost the first, think about this, for the 7th time in 9 games after the opening season with the back-to-back victories. That's how tough it's been for the good old boys and the Washington Commanders. The Los Angeles Chargers didn't like prosperity too well. They fall to Green Bay 23-20. It was Jordan Love throwing for 322 yards. He found Romeo Doubs for a 24-yard touchdown with 2:33 left. And that gave the Green Bay Packers now 4-6, a narrow victory over the Los Angeles Chargers on Sunday. Love was 27 of 40, 322 yards. And the quarterback out of Utah State by way of Liberty High School in Bakersfield had a really good success for the good old boys from Green Bay. All's fair and level where the Chargers failed to do what I thought they'd do. I thought they would have won that game, but that's my story. I'm sticking with it. 800 gambler. I don't bet on games, and that's why. The Jacksonville Jaguars 34, Tennessee Titans 14 after Jacksonville was just beaten up by the 49ers. They got back in the win column. Touchdown, Trevor Lawrence accounted for 4 touchdowns, including 2 perfectly thrown passes to Calvin Ridley and Jacksonville. They run to 7-3 now. They followed their worst loss of the season by drubbing the Tennessee Titans, who are 3-7 now, and they just don't seem to be that same fight that Tennessee was expected to have coming into the season. But that's the way love goes. All's fair in love and war. At the same time, you gotta fight for your right to party. There's something about NFL football that people tend to love or hate. I love the game. Some of the old-timers say the game is not violent enough. But then some of the old-timers, they're the ones suffering from CTE. So they're trying to make the game not as violent. And to me, I think it's better to have a man who can walk and talk when he retires as opposed to a guy that said, we played when they didn't have rules and the guy can barely walk. And there's a lot of guys walking around saying they wish the league went back to that, where you can barely walk. Well, I disagree, but everybody has. Some people love pain. Some people love joy. Pain? What did Frankie W. say? He said, joy and pain is like sunshine and rain. Well, I like sunshine. I don't like joy and pain, if that makes sense to you. Speaking of joy and pain, it's just my opinion. But college football, if you could have seen college football over the weekend the way I did, the Oregon Ducks, as much as people say Oregon looks like the best team in the country, and then the Washington Huskies say not so fast, we beat them. And when I look at different polls out there where Alabama's ranked higher than Texas, and Texas beat Alabama, I think it was 34-13, 34-14 at Tuscaloosa. So how some good old boys can still have the Crimson Tide ranked higher than Texas, I have no idea. But when I think about Oregon and how good they look with Bo Nix, and I look at Georgia and how good they look with anybody that lines up in that backfield, I'll never forget, this is the same Oregon team that lost 49-3 in the kickoff classic to the Georgia Bulldogs. And that same Oregon team, they're not the only undefeated team in the Pac-12. Washington is. Now, there are many pundits that say Oregon's playing the best football right now in the Pac-12 conference. And maybe they are. But when they get up to the line of scrimmage against the Washington Huskies in the Pac-12 championship game, it will be at a neutral site. And even if they pull off the win over Washington, because it looks like those two teams are pretty, unless some upset happens in what's used to be called the Civil War Bowl with Oregon State, or the Apple Cup. Washington's in the Pac-12 championship game, but they can't have a letdown against Washington State, because if they do, the bowl committee would try to keep them out, even if they win the Pac-12. We have Georgia. They have a big clash coming with Alabama. You know that's going to be the SEC championship game. Florida State may run the table unless Louisville knocks them off. I don't think they're going to let Louisville knock them off, even with a backup quarterback, because the ACC, their only chance is to have Florida State run the table. And if you're Georgia, even if you lose to Alabama, I'm just projecting though, if you lose to Alabama in the SEC championship game, I don't see them falling no lower than 4. Because though they're two-time defending national champions, I think they won 28 games in a row, and their last loss was to Alabama in the SEC championship game, and they came back to beat them for the national championship. So if you look at, if Alabama beats Georgia and wins the SEC, do you knock out an SEC champion? That means they would probably jump Texas even if Texas wins the Big 12. Because Washington or Oregon is going to go to the national championship if they get past their biggest rivals. Washington has to beat Washington State, and they got to win the Pac-12 championship. They're in. If they beat Washington State and lose the Pac-12 championship, they're not going to be at number 4 because they're at number 5 now. So I see the winner of Ohio State and Michigan coming down the stretch. I see the winner of Ohio State and Michigan. They're going to get in because the Big Ten champion will get in. And I see the SEC champion getting in, whether that's Georgia or Alabama. And then you got to go to be taking undefeated Florida State and put them in. If they're undefeated, they're probably the worst option out there. But I don't see them holding out an undefeated champion from the ACC if they get past Louisville. But let's say Oregon, Washington winner. The Oregon-Washington winner will get in if they win their rivals this weekend, the Apple Cup, and also what's called the Civil War. Let's just say if it's Oregon, because that's what the pundits are looking for. They're saying they're playing better football than Washington, and defensively they are. And even offensively they are. And Michael Penix Jr., it took a last-minute drive to even win that game up in Seattle. But Oregon, they tried to go for 4th and 1 3 times, and they missed. Had they just kicked one of those field goals, they would have won. So I say Oregon is probably better than Washington, even though Washington had the win at Husky Stadium. If they play in the Pac-12 championship, I don't think Lanny's going to foolishly try to go for it 3 times on 4th and 1. Kick the field goal, take the point. That would have been a 9-point swing for the Oregon Ducks at that time. So I have the Big 12 will get in. If Texas wins out, if Texas gets knocked off, they're not going to take a Big 12 champion. We saw what happened to TCU last year. That's just my opinion. I'm seeing, and I hope I may not be wrong. If Alabama falls to Georgia in the SEC championship game, then you're going to have Georgia number 1, the Ohio State Michigan winner number 2. Say Michigan, they beat them 2 years in a row. You're going to have a Pac-12 champion number 3. Let's say it's Oregon that gets in number 3. Well, who would be number 4? Would you take an undefeated Florida State team, or would you take a team in Texas that has 1 loss and put Texas above Florida State? Now, Texas knocked off Alabama. Florida State, based on what I see, does not have impressive wins. But if they're undefeated, who's going to say they don't deserve to go to the national championship playoffs? So in my opinion, SEC's getting in. They could get two teams in. If Alabama knocks off Georgia, Alabama will get in. Georgia will fall to number 4. And you have Michigan, Ohio State winner, they'll get in. Say it's Michigan. They've been beating them the last 2 years. And then you have the Pac-12 champion. And let's say it's Oregon. But then if Washington wins the Pac-12 championship, they're in. If Oregon wins the Pac-12 championship, do you take an Oregon over a 1-loss Texas team from the Big 12 or an undefeated team in Florida State from the ACC? The best thing you can do is try to win out, if that makes sense to you. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. But I love college football for that reason. They let you play to win the game, and as you play to win the game, I really do appreciate that. You know, I'm always big on reparations with Big C Sports. And I'm one of the only sports podcasters in the universe that champions reparations and always call it reparations now, reparations forever. I love talking about that, and I won't be missed by doing it again today. I know we had a show, went a little bit into overtime today. It's for the holiday weekend coming up. I want to just quickly give some praise to the California Reparations Task Force, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I want to make sure that I give some praise to Camila Moore. She's the chair. She's brilliant. Love giving her praise. Dr. M.C. Brown, the vice chair. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. Responsible for name, image, and likeness. We'll be having a meeting with him soon. Council member Monica Montgomery Stephanie. She's brilliant. Love giving her praise. Assembly member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. Dr. Cheryl Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. Also, Dr. Devon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him some praise. And Donald K. Tamaki, attorney at law. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. All part of the California Reparations Task Force. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, the holidays are here. A lot of people getting together for turkey and all those fixings. I want to thank Rasheed Salaam. He's an expert in nutrition and food, and he tells you everything that he says. You just Google it. Everybody has their own thoughts about what you do. It's something that you have in your own control. It's called Google. You can Google anything. Well, Google this, my story and my opinion. If you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink, because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things I can do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off, but don't get behind the wheel of the car as you've been drinking. The person life you say might be your own or someone you love. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as you know, I always tell you, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali, they say I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat, because every time I listen to Big C Sports, it makes me want to say, reparations now, reparations forever. And that's what every butterfly sting like a bee. That's my story. I'm sticking with it with Ali. As my beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911, because things change when the police show up. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super, fantastic day. And here's the time that we honor President Abraham Lincoln. You sports fans, you know what I'm talking about. What did he tell Congress and President Joe Biden to do? He said, reparations now, reparations forever. Come on, y'all, let's say it like your team just won the game. What did Abraham Lincoln tell us to do? He said, pass reparations now, pass reparations forever. Now let's say it like your team just won the game. What did President Abraham Lincoln tell Congress and President Joe Biden to do? He said, pass reparations now, pass reparations forever. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.